A rural Cass Lake, Minnesota mother has been charged with murdering her toddler. 30-year-old Larena Jackson has been charged with murder, first-degree assault, malicious punishment of a child under 4, and fleeing a peace officer. Reading directly from the criminal complaint with the names of investigators deleted, this is the statement of what allegedly happened, according to the prosecutor. On August 19, 2023 at 9:34 p.m., the Cass County Sheriff's Office received a report of a minor child that was reportedly run over by a vehicle which had left the scene. It was reported the child was now inside the residence at 14158 Whitestone Loop Northwest in rural Cass Lake. Upon arrival, deputies were told the child had been run over and was not breathing. They began life-saving efforts as emergency medical personnel arrived and ultimately transported by ambulance to Sanford Hospital in Bemidji. The child was then flown to Sanford Hospital in Fargo with numerous life-threatening injuries. An investigator was dispatched to the scene and learned that the child was identified as a 23-month-old boy. The child's mother was identified as Larena Jackson, the defendant in this matter. The investigator was advised, she told deputies that she had a disagreement with the child's father who had taken the child and left in his personal vehicle. She further indicated this argument had occurred shortly after her mother had left the residence, which was around 4 to 5 p.m. The defendant, Jackson, reported the father then contacted her later and told her he was leaving the child in the road down the street, and she believed the child had been run over, presumably by the father. The deputy asked her about the phone log, and she was not able to show whether the father had called and said it might even have been when my phone was dead. I don't know. When asked how she knew he called, she told the deputy, he called me and I told him my phone was dead. She then suggested it may have been on her tablet. Upon retrieving her tablet, the defendant, Jackson, advised it was broken and mentioned it doesn't even have phone calls. Subsequent investigation revealed the father was at his residence in Bemidji and had not recently been in the Cass Lake area. While deputies spoke with the defendant, Jackson, she gave multiple conflicting stories about the incident. Blood was observed in numerous locations throughout the home. The deputy also noted there were cleaning products on the counter in the kitchen and a bottle of hydrogen peroxide on the floor near the front door. The deputy also noted that the child had been wrapped in a towel upon her arrival. Initially, when she attempted to move closer to the defendant, she would step back and pull the child closer to her as if to conceal him from seeing him. She noticed that the child did not have any blood, dry or wet, on his body other than the top of his head from an obvious laceration. It looked as if the child may have been cleaned up prior to her arrival. She requested the defendant put the child on the reclining chair. At this time, she observed the laceration on the head to be approximately 2 to 3 inches long on the right side of the child's forehead, along with a laceration of approximately 1 to 2 inches underneath his left eye and a split lip. The child was unconscious. The lacerations were noted to be deep and actively bleeding. The investigator took a recorded statement from the defendant, Jackson, who admitted the child was not run over by a vehicle and stated she had been carrying the child in the street after she picked him up from having been left by the father. She advised the child was walking when she encountered him on the street. She stated she fell down while carrying the child and subsequently caused the injuries. She denied anyone else assaulted or otherwise harmed the child. The defendant also advised she had taken the child inside and attempted to clean his injuries in the bathtub. She further advised that her cousins came to the residence and she told them to call law enforcement to report the child had been run over. The investigator noted the defendant, Jackson, had an operable cellular device at the time of the interview. The defendant provided the phone number for the phone and assisted with putting it in airplane mode. The phone was seized as evidence pending a search warrant. The residence was secured by law enforcement until the following morning. The investigator learned from hospital staff at Sanford Fargo that the child was in critical condition and sustained injuries that were non-compatible with life and was expected to pass away in the coming days. Breaking from the criminal complaint here, the child did pass away. The investigator authorized a search warrant for the residence, and crime scene team with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension assisted with processing the scene. Numerous areas of apparent blood were located in a southeast bedroom, along with a large amount of blood on a mattress, which was situated on the floor with a matching box spring on top of it in an apparent attempt to conceal the blood. At least 2 indentations were located in the sheetrock of the bedroom wall above the bed that would be consistent with the shape of the toddler's head. These indentations had apparent blood splatter on them as well. On August 20th, investigators spoke with the Jackson's mother, who was unaware of the incident. She indicated she was staying with the Jackson at her residence for several days. She left the residence at approximately 5 p.m. on August 19th due to Jackson's drinking, being rude and confrontational. She left on foot and called someone for a ride. To her knowledge, the child's father had not been to the residence or had contact with the defendant in approximately 3 weeks. She also noted the child would commonly cry and throw fits if he did not get his way. On August 22nd, at approximately 1:30 p.m., it was learned the defendant, Jackson, was contacting Leech Lake Housing and requesting to get into her residence. At the time, she was telling Housing that she was at her friend's place. The investigator recognized the friend's name and knew the address in Cass County. The investigator responded to the address with several other deputies. He observed the female party look at them and enter the residence. Deputies attempted contact with those inside for approximately 15 minutes until a male came outside. He indicated that he lived at the residence and gave officers consent to search the home. He further advised that the defendant was hiding inside. Deputies located the defendant, Jackson, hiding in a cabinet in a bathroom, and she was taken into custody. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.